Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tarot Off the Cuff. My name is Kevin Quigley. We've got kind of a big day here today. We're doing our tarot conversation. Two tarot readers that I brought together and have asked them to draw a card, come up with a topic for conversation, and then use a few more cards to maybe answer some questions or examine it a little further. First reader for this group is Lily McNamara. She comes from Minneapolis, which is a city I've spent a fair amount of time in. It's one of those places that has some of the coolest people on the planet, and I would put Lily in that particular group. And I've paired her with Joe Monteleone. He comes from northern New Jersey, another space where I've spent a lot of time. He is a circus performer and a super smart and super creative reader and esoteric thinker. I have a feeling that their enthusiasms and personalities will bounce off of each other really beautifully. My goal, what I really like to do is maybe every month or so have one of these longer conversations. We're aiming for somewhere between 30 to 60 minutes. Let me know in the comments if this longer format is something you really like, and if it's things that people are really responding to, maybe we'll even up the schedule and put a few more of these up. So, Lily McNamara, Joe Monteleone, take it away.
Hello and welcome to Tarot Off the Cuff. My name is Lily McNamara. I'm in Minneapolis, and this is the beautiful and talented Joe Monteleone, and I believe he's in New Jersey.
Yep.
Being awesome on the East Coast, and we're here to talk a lot about the physical embodiment and manifestations of tarot and what that means to us and how you can see it like in your own lives and kind of like decipher a little bit of the archetypes with it. So, Joe, what is like an archetype for you or anything like that? Let's just get started.
What is an archetype in general?
Like for the tarot, for you, like you personally.
I feel like an archetype is like a pretty general but also distinct chunk of code that can run in the software of our consciousness to do things, and I think they're useful, and I think we call upon them consciously or unconsciously in our in our own awareness or unawareness, and use them as vehicles to do fun stuff in life itself.
Definitely. And like I love that the representation we can like pull it out and make it like real world instead of just like a thought in our head or anything or an emotion. So we were discussing like tarot conferences and stuff, especially the big one in New York that happens, and they usually have a gala or a dinner or something where you can dress up as a tarot card that you want to be. And I've done those. And some people take it to like really literal, like there have been the hermits who dress up and they have the cloak and the lantern and everything. And then there are some that just like take it to the extreme. Like there was a drag one once where everyone was like the drag version and you owned it. But everyone was dressing up as like the representation of the card that they want to do. I did the moon. And for me, that was a Greek goddess like sheath dress. And then I had laurels and stuff. And so that's what the moon looks like to me as a physical like person that I could become. Does that make sense?
I love that. That's beautiful. Oh, I wish I saw it.
I will send pictures. I looked fabulous. And I met I met the person who made the Gilded Tarot, and I fangirled the whole time. I was like, oh my God. I was like a teenager meeting like Justin Bieber. It was that was my fangirl moment.
That's me the entire time at a tarot conference. Just like, yeah, it's a whole fantasy.
Definitely.
Yeah. I only went to one tarot conference so far at the Reader Studio, and I actually got to perform there. So my embodiment was the Devil card. And I actually started like intentionally, consciously embodying tarot through my dance company when I would start to link the different pieces to the different tarot cards and to the different Hebrew letters and the paths on the Tree of Life. I went through the whole like Golden Dawn wormhole. It was mostly for me. The audience had no idea, but like it was fun. Like, and one of the last pieces I did before that conference was the Devil. I did a piece called Pan, and I was working a lot with Peter Pan and the archetype of Pan and play, and that spell honestly did a lot of damage, but it was so much fun. But my favorite performance of that was at the tarot conference. So I had like a fur collar, and there was projection with like goats, because I was connecting to Capricorn, which is my sun. And it was very like visceral and like deliciously lustfully gross. It was fun.
That's the thing where it's like, it was delightfully intense. You had to see it.
Delightfully disgusting. Yeah.
Yes, as so many things should be in life.
I agree. Yeah. It's how you know you're alive. Get a little bit of both.
Exactly. Well, and I think even with talking about tarot and stuff, you bring up a really good point that it is messy. Like nothing is clean cut or meant to be clean cut. It's meant to be what we envision it to be. Like me and my moon is much different than like you and your devil and that type of thing. So it's such a personal experience, and it's not meant to be clear parameters for everyone. And it really embracing and honoring that, because so many people, when they read tarot, I feel like I've had people read for me and they say, this is what this card means. And they say it so like woodenly. And I'm like, yeah, but what's that card mean to me or to you or to this reading? Or, that it's expand, make it bigger and make it personal and intimate. And that's not always clean cut. Like sometimes, like you said, it's disgusting or messy and just glorious in that.
Yeah, and it can also be flexible on scales of reality, like in the way that we imagine the Empress as being love and beauty, but it's like the Empress on a large scale can be something, and like, this is going to sound weird to say, but something as real as like the coronavirus, which is a living being, and the Empress is love, and the Empress allows for everything to exist. But you can get on the micro scale, the macro scale, like the devil as the energy that exists in the generative qualities of cells, as well as our personal lust in our whole body. Like, I they're very multidimensional. So it's like, but yeah, I think that's such an interesting thing to think about. And as we were preparing for this chat, Lily and I were discussing how we embody the cards personally in our life. And it's been really fun going through the cards, and because I always go through the cards and I think symbol and metaphor, but going through the cards and thinking like literal posture and like scene was really fun for me.
Definitely. And I know we talked about, and I'm looking at it. I'm not meaning not to look away from the camera, but it is my hermit spot is behind the camera, and I call it my nest. And it is my physical embodiment of the hermit card. Is there's blankets and sheets and pillows and, food and books and everything within reach in my little nest. And it's like, if I could stay there all day, and it's all about like introspection, and everything that I need is readily available to me. And so like, for me, it's not a part of any other part of my life except that one spot in my living room that is absolutely my hermit. And that's like, when we talk about the physical manifestations in our own lives, that's the one that always comes to me, because it's so like in my face. Like I see it every day. I sit in that spot every day. I am Sheldon from the Big Bang Theory. That is my spot. No one else sits there. It looks like a spot. It is my little like nest, and it's got like all the covers like wrapped around in a circle, and then you just nuzzle in, and yes.
And it's so interesting because, and this is a topic I've been really interested in lately, the spiritual path that is life itself on the quote unquote mundane level, or the day-to-day, like you might not, I mean, maybe you do, like climb up a mountain in a cloak with a lantern, maybe, but not doing that. You're in that space, but you're still doing what the hermit is doing, being a teacher and a healer, and all the many things that you do. Like that's the work, and that's the sacred space, which I think is so cool. Like tarot is magical, but it's magical in this reality. It doesn't have to be something else, though it could be.
Yes, it's like it's that thing that we were discussing earlier. It's like it can be big or it can be small. Like you said, micro or macro. Like it's so multi-dimensional, as you said. And so I like that it's like that. So what I just talked about, like the hermit for me. So what's something like that for you? Like what's your mundane representation?
So I have a few funny literal ones that came to mind. This is me looking for all the red Skittles at the end of the bag. I love Skittles. I love all the Skittles, but reds are my favorite.
Okay, do you like the green apple? Let's be honest.
Yes. Okay, I do like the green apple. I do like the update, whenever that update was in like the 90s or the early 2000s. I don't know, but yes. I even have Skittle flavoring powder that I put in my water. It's so bad. I know, I'm like high fructose corn syrup extravaganza, like it's bad. But yeah, it's so
No,
good.
we're sugar friends. We both like love sugar so much, but no. So that is the difference between us. When we hang out, you get all the green Skittles then because I hate them when they change.
Oh, really? Wow.
I'm like, so now you complete me. You Skittle complete me. You can have them all. Please take them because I throw them out.
Oh.
I'm like, no one's
Wow.
gonna eat these. Mwah.
I'll happy. I'll always take your green Skittles. Always.
Thank you. So you had looking for the red Skittles, which I think everyone can relate to something like that, whether it's Skittles or not, that we're looking for our favorite thing that we're eating at the bottom of the bag.
Hmm. And then I have my dog, he's a golden doodle, and he really has an attitude so much. And I literally the best thing I can do to like stop his attitude, I close his mouth and I open my teeth and I say, "You see these teeth? This is the alpha." And I literally do this all the time. It's so cute. He like calms down. But then I also have good old Netflix and chill, Four of Cups. I also think Four of Cups is like the Instagram hole, the social media hole that you get lost in with this the infinite scrolling. Yeah, it's like I don't need to do anything but blah, 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 blah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
I am resonating so much with what you're saying just based on that last card. I signed up for TikTok a few days ago and I am down a whole, like I'm just sitting there like an upturned turtle at this point. And I've even in like the few days that I've had it, I'm like, do not open it unless you want to lose 2 hours. So I now like intentionally don't open the app unless it's like, I know that it's not going to, like I've paused Netflix so that I can concentrate on the little videos.
Whoa, then that really sad Netflix message appears like, "Are you still watching?" And you're like, "Don't judge me."
Exactly. I was like, hey, now.
Hey, where's the fire? What's the rush? Everyone calm down, Netflix.
It's like, it's going to happen in my time, in my own sacred time. It's okay.
Yeah.
So
Cool.
yeah, just like, and I like that. So like I said, the moon and the hermit and everything. And I think that a myth that a lot of people have that you kind of pointed out was that it has to be a major arcana or a court card that you embody. It has to be like archetype and person-esque. And you're sitting there with like the Four of Cups going, this Four of Cups is not human. You know, it's 4 cups. And so you're like, but this is me. And this is me with Netflix. And I think that's important for people to understand. It's like any card you can have in any aspect of your life and manifest and have it embodied. It doesn't have to be major arcana. It doesn't have to be the representation of physical human being. It can be an activity or, you know, just an aspect of your life. So it's again, not having that limiting construct that people have. So I like that those were your examples that you're like, yep, see, it's not all the peopling.
I do have a pretty weird one though, a pretty wild one that is more abstract that I was looking in preparation for this video and thinking about like literal examples and more abstract kind of esoteric examples. And one of the things that I've started doing over the past several months, totally as a hobby, is drag. By the way, makeup and drag, I did not know is the hardest thing I've ever experienced. Makeup can smell your fear. It's wild. But anyway, so I'm exploring drag and I'm looking through my Thoth tarot. And one thing I've learned about drag is it's not about I am a man dressing as a woman. It's about I am more than all of that and expressing all of that in as many ways as I want, gender included. And that was a huge shift for me. And what that brought me to was the Fool, who has no gender and is 0. And in Crowley's deck, the Fool is the infinite nothing, the Ein Sof, the infinite possibility for everything to exist, but nothing to exist. And in the Thoth deck, his girlfriend is adjustment. And the reason why is because of the Hebrew letters. There's a whole big thing about what they spell. But anyway, this is the girlfriend of the Fool. And adjustment is reality happening in manifestation through balance. So the idea is you have the 0, and then there's somehow an imbalance in that perfect equanimity so that something can exist, a +1 and a -1, and then a +2 and then a -2, and then it keeps going until you have a whole universe. And I thought adjustment was such a great symbol of drag because it's the nerve of the universe to actualize and manifest itself in all these different forms and all these different expressions, which is all really drag at the end of the day, but at the same time keep this really calm, cool, collected, like, poise. And she's literally poised, so balanced on the sword. And that's one thing I love about drag, is the nerve and the willingness and the bravery to do something so big, but have the discipline to back it up so that everybody like believes you. And I think that's very much the adjustment card, because the adjustment card is like everything. She doesn't blink. She sees every cause and every effect and every balance and every move and every look and every wink and every gesture. Everything causes something. So I really went down the wormhole with this whole drag relationship between the Fool and the adjustment card.
But I love that. I love the own it of it, you know, because
Yeah.
it's like you don't halfway drag. If we're being honest, if you're doing it, you are committed. And you're right, the makeup is so hard. I commend
The
anyone.
balance
Just
of adjustment.
It's precise. I mean, if no one has watched like a tutorial about it, I suggest you do. It will blow your mind with like the effort that's put in. And I always like really commend and respect anyone who's willing to put that much effort into something that I just don't understand. And so I'm like, oh yes. So it's just wonderful. But with it, it's like the owning it, and it's empowering from the inside. And it's like, as much as these embodiments, like my nest is there and like it's outside my body, but it's like a part of me. It's my aspect of my life. And same with the drag, like the wig, the makeup, that's outside, but the energy, the embodiment is coming from within, and that's being projected out. And it's like drag, it's like, that's what happens. You are projecting out this inner beauty, and it's manifesting, like you said, as that perfect balance and awareness.
Yeah, totally. Absolutely. And yeah, and as you manifest, it causes something else, which is very much about the adjustment as cause and effect and karma, and like the Newtonian universe of one thing knocking into the other. So your expression brings up an emotion that might be native to another body or another brain or another mind, but it is brought out, and then they express something, and then you have culture all of a sudden, and it's traveling around in a bunch of memes.
Yes. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And then
there's TikTok.
Yes, and then there's TikTok. No, and like I had a friend with culture and stuff. I had a friend recently explain to me, he's from Puerto Rico, and now he's here, and he does like acupuncture and stuff. And he was explaining like there's a difference between like religion and like your belief system and your culture. And he had explained like he knows several Jewish people who don't practice like the Jewish religion, but they still eat the Jewish kosher diet and everything. He's like, because it's part of their culture. And so there's a difference in it. And in honoring that, like honoring the difference, that it's not all one thing or the other. Again, that balance, that detail. And so when you say culture, I'm like, oh yes, like, and that people will take whatever they need to out of the tarot. Like if they need to view it very black and white, like this is what strength is, period. This is what the Four of Cups is, period. Because that's how they resonate with it. You know, yes, go with it, you know, own it. But if you're going to look at it abstract, own that too. Like find your style with reading and how you relate to the cards when you read and everything, because that's what makes it so much more in depth, but also understandable, and to read for other people. Because if you're just reading like the meanings as you read in a book, you're not going to get as much out of tarot as if you were to be like, oh yes, this is my hermit, or this is my embodiment. If you make it intimate, make it yours. That's what I'm saying. Make it yours.
Yeah. Oh, I totally feel that. Yeah. And I feel like tarot is something that you build up inside of you. Like with history and books and experiences to guide you. But yeah, it's definitely something you build up inside. And I think that's also just working off of adjustment. That's an adjustment or just a skill, is balancing that very upfront, literal, immediate meaning versus the more abstract or esoteric or historical definition, and being able to work with both in that adjustment or in that temperance realm. But yeah, that's a fun skill. I love how when tarot just calls you out literally versus like more subtly. Yeah, it's cool.
Yes, it's amazing. And that like everyone has different meanings of everything, that and honoring that aspect too. I had someone recently call me out because I was describing like what the 10 of cups kind of meant to me and what it feels like to me very personally and how it represents. And they're like, that's not the 10 of cups. And I was like, okay, but that's not the 10 of cups for you, which is totally fine. Like rock out your 10 of cups. I don't care. But that's what it was for me. And so to make it your own, and even if someone calls you out that it's not the same or not the traditional meaning, that's not what's important. It's important of how it resonates with you.
Yeah, and that links back to our topic of tarot embodiment. I mean, where was the tarot invented? Like possibly Italy, possibly before. But if we look at the pictures, it's people painting what they're seeing other people doing and embodying. What does an emperor do? How does he sit? What does a village fool do? Like, what is his gesture? And what does that say about him? And it's not to say that the fool that inspired Pixie was feeling those things that are being channeled into the card necessarily that she was working with. But it doesn't matter because it's like, can be larger. But yeah, exactly. That's interesting. Like, I don't know what the Popess was thinking, or if she was even real. Like, maybe she was trolling us the whole time. She's like, haha, I got a tarot card now. Take that, Pope.
Yes. Well, and that's a good question. Now I'm going to think about it. Oh my God, you're blowing my mind. The whole, like, I wonder if like the first tarot cards, it was based off someone like, you know, the King of Wands, who just like, what a dick. Or, you know, I'm not saying the King of Wands is a dick, but you know, he's just like, yeah, he has red hair and a little.
I love that. He fits the bill. Red hair, tall.
Yeah, yep. little too cocky. Like, I'm thinking about it. I'm like, I'm wondering if the person who like created this and manifested the physical embodiment, if the cards were actually based off that now. See, this is what you do. You bring me down the rabbit hole. I love
it.
I'm going to be thinking about this for days.
What was the star actually doing?
Yes. What was the purpose? Did you know her? Was her name Nadine? Like,
the star was actually the first public nudist ever in the world.
Yes.
That's so funny. I love that. Nude beach moment. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's like, this needs to be immortalized forever.
That is so funny. I love that. One of the suits that I've really connected with in the past couple years is the suit of wands, because I started fire spinning a couple years ago, and I was thinking about this before, and each one really does represent an embodiment with fire. There's the fire itself, which is like, ooh, that's pretty, but can I touch it? And I remember the first time I started spinning fire, I was holding it was nunchucks, and I was holding these fire nunchucks that were on fire for dear life, and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. I actually wanted to give them back. And I was gripping it like this and see how the wand is bolted to the castle. Mm-hmm. And then when I got comfortable with it, I loosened my grip and I allowed things to kind of flow and I could relax into the 3 of wands. And then the 4 of wands was actually my first performance. And I thought that was really cool. 5 of wands, I got burned. That's actually literally what happened here. Was the first time I spun in a large group of people, there were 5 of us, and we had these big staffs, these big fire staffs, and we were all dancing together. And that was probably one of the hardest moments for me because it was so much fire and it literally looked like this. We were all just moving around, trying to figure out the choreography, trying not to die. Like, it was wild. But yeah, it just keeps going. And yeah, and then this is me at an event carrying all of my fire props home every time.
I can see that. I can see you with the big bundle. Like, yep, I packed it. I do that too with my events. People are always like, what is wrong? It's like, I'm a Cancer. I take my home with me. So like when I set up for events, there are bags everywhere. And it's like, once it's set up, the bags go away. Everyone's like, you pack a lot. And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay with this. This is not a shame thing. This is me being a Cancer. But from what you said, it actually reminded me of something. And I actually have, it's a spell laid out on my table, so I'm not going to touch it, but it's the cards laid out. And when you said like, that's the journey. So a few years ago, I had a really long conversation with Nancy Antonucci, actually. And it was, this is what I want for the goal for my personal life. And for my astrological symbols, I'm a Cancer sun sign, but then I'm also Cancer in 4 other places. So I'm just a whole lot of water. And when I looked at the cards, I said, God, I just feel like I'm the 7 of Cups all the time, that I'm always confused because I have so many different options and I don't know which one is best for me. And then, so then I stand there and stare at them. And she was like, okay, so set out all the cards. And so this thing has been up, this spell has been up for years, and it progresses every, couple months. And it was set it up that like the 7 of Cups, the 8 of Cups, the 9 of Cups, the 10 of Cups. Because for me in my personal life and emotional life, I want to be love, marriage, baby carriage someday. And when I'm ready. And I couldn't get past the 7 of Cups. And it was like, okay, and laying it out in the progressive steps, I realized that, yeah, my life was the 7 of Cups. But once I got over that, it was the 8 of Cups, which was, cutting the fat for like a year, like just not talking to people, moving forward with my career. It was it was like reckless abandon of everything that did not serve me and my soul. And then like the next one is like community and building and real friendships and solid like interaction. And then the next one is love, marriage, baby carriage. And so it's like, when I saw yours, I'm like, oh my God, I have one of those stories. I know what that means. And yours was fire, yours was wands, and mine's so water. Mine is so cups. Everything is emotional for me. And I'm such a like, how do you feel? That's right. Feel, not think, feel. Ask for the feels first.
I just put on a fiery front. I have a double moon rising and rising Pisces and a moon in Pisces. So that's a secret. Now everybody knows. But that's cool. Like, and that 8 of Cups, that, and the way that you described it, it's so Saturnian, that like reckless abandon of what doesn't serve you. Like Saturn's not going to wait for nobody. Saturn's just like, what is the one thing that is true for you? Everything else must go. Oh my God. My Saturn return was not cute.
Oh yes,
it was cute. It wasn't cute.
it was a big old hot mess, and like I love it and I honor it, and at the same time I'm like, I really hope there isn't a lot of like video evidence of that part of my life. I'm sure it was just like crazy. But no, yeah. So it's like you can have with the physical embodiment of the cards, it can be a process through one of the suits. It can be a process through the major arcana. Like you started out as the Fool and then you went to the Magician or anything like that, there can be progress. It's not, none of this is a staying point. Like you can identify with a card for your whole life, but it's like you can move through entire suits in a few years or anything with your representation, like with you did with the fire spinning. And it's like it's sacred no matter what it is or how long it takes. Like some of the cards in mine are taking much longer than others, and I need to be okay with that.
I wonder where it starts. Like if we put the cards, well, this is kind of a time question, but like, do we put the cards onto the event, or do we put the event onto the cards that we know about already? Because I'm trying to remember, like, when I used to, like, one thing I love to do is, this is my favorite deck. It's the Neon Moon Tarot, the cyberpunk deck by Pixel Cult. And it's just my whole fantasy. So my life literally does show up like this, because this is just like the worlds that I'm into, cyberpunk, like post-apocalyptic. I used to go to clubs a lot. And so many times I would have images on my phone that literally the color and the characters would look just like this, like scenes from this deck.
Yes.
And like, just like industrial, like city club, like weird style punk, like, I don't know. It was just fun. And then these little messages of like, oh yeah, I'm doing the thing. That's cool. But yeah, the literal aspect is so much fun. Another thing I used to really do, I was reading a book, Cybermancer, I think it was called, Neuromancer, which is like a cyberpunk novel. And I was pulling from this deck different scenes that were happening in the novel and like giving me more illustration. And that was really fun. That was a like embodiment exercise. Have you had any like fun embodiments with tarot in life or recently, or?
For me, it's been kind of about other people almost. So like learning the tarot, and part of my training when I first started, years ago, was who does the King of Wands remind you of? Who does the Queen of Swords remind you of, and stuff like that? And I realized, like, I feel like I'm not all, well, yeah, all the queens, like there is an aspect of my life that is the embodiment of each of those. Like I absolutely am a multitasker, like Queen of Swords rocking it out. I am totally an emotional cup, you know, and I'm a very critical and judgmental person about certain things. Like I don't lie, I have an ego, and I acknowledge that, and I also acknowledge that that is not always like the best thing, but I acknowledge that I have one. And so it's like all the cards, and like the I'm super cautious with money. So like the Queen of Pentacles, it's like, yeah, that's but no, so like having the different manifestations, it's like it can be different facets of you.
Like, I'm curious about that. If we can ask questions like, how can I chariot my way through this, which would be Cancer, or like, but yeah, it's very interesting because there are psychological studies that I couldn't explain in the whole thing, but I don't know too much about, but very involved studies that actually show that when people perceive us a certain way, our bodies and our voice will actually start to match the way that they perceive us.
Mm-hmm.
Which is weird and scary, but like the power of suggestion, whether that's psychically or purely just psychologically, whatever frame you want to look at it, I think that's a real thing. Which kind of comes back to the Fool, actually, because the Fool is everything, and Fool and tarot includes everything, judges nothing, and the Fool's shapeshift. So it's our shape-shifting minds to embody all these different cards. And that's actually like in a position where I find that I embody a card and I like it, or especially if I don't like that I'm embodying that card, I usually ask myself, like, what do I love so much about being like this card right now, or like being the Devil right now, or being the Knight of Wands right now, or being the Knight of Cups, and leaving a whole path of heartbreaks awake. Like,
Well, yeah, and it's like with the Devil, it's not bad. Like, so when I look at a really positive aspect of the Devil card, I always think indulgent, and I do not think of indulgence as like gorging yourself or something like that. I view it as like decadent chocolate, and it's like it's indulgent. It's meant to be enjoyed, and it's like in a healthy way. You can enjoy indulgent things, and so there's nothing wrong with honoring that. For me, that side of the Devil, I'm just like, the thing I do it with, and oh yes, we are going to share these when we hang out, is like chocolaterie truffles, like genuine, like artistic, real fancy, delicious truffles. I'm not talking like you get them at Target. I mean, like you go to a chocolate store, and I think they are just decadent and indulgent and gorgeous, and they make me feel great about myself. I'm not eating them thinking I'm gonna get fat. I hate myself. I'm like, I am a goddess. Yes.
They're high end.
I was like, oh, wonderful. So it's like these things that people think are negative about cards are really can be opportunities to look at yourself differently or anything like that. Like we talked about the Saturn return, and that for me has a lot to do with like the Tower card. And it was like, I'm going to set your world on fire, and whatever's left is what you actually cared about. And now you're going to rebuild your life from something other than like teen angst. And
but I miss the teen angst.
It's like, it's home. I'm used to it. But if that wouldn't have happened, if the Saturn return wouldn't have happened, if the Tower card doesn't happen, you don't get the opportunity to know who you are on a deep, really personal, like brutal, raw level, to be able to like move forward in a way that actually serves you the best you can. And so I'm a big believer in, I would rather go through an intense short period of shit than have it stretched out and be like, oh, well, this is like mildly annoying. It's like, no, I want to deal with it. And like, even with my physical self and my body, like doctors are like, oh, we can do this. And I'm like, or you can just like, I had my tonsils out a year and a half ago, and they were like, well, we can wait. And I'm like, no, they hurt. They're inflamed. It sucked. And they're like, well, you can have like a year of trying to make them better and like kind of talking and stuff like that. Or you can have a month where we do surgery and recovery. And I'm like, I'll take the month. I'll take a month off work. If you're telling me I have a year, because it's like I was sucking on things in front of clients and just like chugging water. And it's like, I'm so sorry. Take me seriously.
I love
I
that.
can't do this. Like, can we just fix it? And so I'm a big, like with the tower and stuff, it's like, if it's a short period of shit, I will take the short shit over like the long, like, well, that was kind of difficult. I'm like, no, just do it. Like rip off the Band-Aid.
That's you. And like, I play with the idea that and I say this with a level of caution, but I play with the idea that we do invite sometimes a level of crisis or catastrophe, though that's not like a crisis, but like we invite things to be removed from us forcefully or easily, depending on the situation, so that we can create something different. And I know I've seen that in my clients a lot, and that goes a little, sometimes can go out of the realm of tarot, obviously, but like, I know for me, like physical, like going back to physical embodiments of like removals and change and forced change, like I guarantee anytime that I'm starting to get off my higher path, my true will, my car's gonna break down. There's always an issue with my car, and it's like, where am I afraid to go? Where am I getting lost here? That and my my vape breaks. Those are the two things. Those are two signals that I'm like starting to like get off track. But like I feel like we create with the energy like these physical things, and they can help adjust us. And then just like that, you speak now, and I mean your voice is beautiful. So now you have your voice and everything, and it's super expressive, and it's like, yeah, that's very interesting.
Yes. And it was like with the voice, I used to have a higher voice before the surgery, and the surgery changed my voice to make it lower, which I know I still sound very feminine, but and for me, that was actually like a manifestation and a symbol of me being like gender neutral and they, them, to have my voice be lower. And I didn't ask for that. It happened. And I didn't know, because I obviously sound different than what you hear. We all sound different in our head. But I had one of my colleagues when I came back from surgery and went back to work, and he was just like, your voice is deeper. And I was like bad? And he's like, no, you sound like yourself for the first time. He's like, you really sound, and like he used lots of compliments, like you sound sultry and sexy, but you just sound more grounded now. You sound way more you. And I didn't know that getting my tonsils removed would lower my voice at all. Like I thought I'd always sound like one of the chipmunks. But oh yeah, people would comment, I sounded like a cartoon character, and I know it. And it was just like, oh wow. So having that physical embodiment and representation of like your authentic self just happened. And you're right, I didn't ask for it, but it happened and I needed it. And like, thank you, universe, because like I love it now.
Wow, congrats on what a cool creation that is. Congrats. Like, yes. That is so cool. The power that we have over our bodies, and I mean the shape-shifting ability of the mind is like very apparent, neuroplasticity and all that, and mindset, and that's my coaching mind talking. But like the bodies too, like especially like in queer communities, and the way that we can mystically, magically, literally, medically, all these ways modify our bodies to embody more of the archetypes that are true for us is amazing. That's something I really like. I feel like the trans community especially, and a lot of the queer community inspired me so much. And I love all types of body flexibility, adaptability, and just body ownership. Beautiful. That's so cool.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I love that you brought that up. So I keep playing. That's why I keep going down, because I actually have tarot cards right next to me, and I keep playing with them like a little fidget spinner. And what I think is important, just to, as you said, like all different kinds of bodies, I want to be clear, like you can only see me, from the bust up. And I am a very curvy person, and my physical body type is not on any one of these cards. And that's okay. Like my physical body doesn't have to match the Queen of Cups. If you are 6 feet tall, girl, and you a queen, go for it. If you are 5 feet tall or less, like it's fine. Like it's not, your physical manifestation does not have to look like the card, does not have to be the same hair color or skin color or gender or anything like that. Like your manifestation is unique to you. And I know that in, I'm sure there are many tarot decks that are all about curves. But in this traditional, the Rider-Waite deck, my body is not represented. And I'm okay with that because I know that's not what it's about. But I don't, so I'm just mentioning it to people, like, as we're talking about the physical embodiment, we're not expecting or asking any kind of like augmentation or anything like that. That's not, the cards are whatever you represent as. And so it's not meant to be super strict or anything. So if you don't look like one of the cards, don't worry. Like it's fine. Like
And
I guarantee he don't look like a cup, and yet he does the 4 cups. So
yeah, and that can just be a limitation of the artist in a way. I don't mean that like as a criticism, but like a limitation of their reality tunnel and what they've experienced and what they're pulling in. And I mean, luckily today there's so many new tarot artists like creating so many decks, and like I think honestly, I think everyone has that soul deck where they're like, this is my fantasy, and then it's your reality, and like that's this one for me. But yeah, there's nothing like feeling and seeing yourself in a card. And I think that's something that's cool, because then you find the artists that are like you and creating the work and share similar narratives, similar understanding, especially now with tarot becoming so popular. But yeah, I totally agree. Like I think that's definitely like a weird thing with a lot of the older decks. It is very limited, and that's kind of that's unfortunate.
Yeah, and so I just thought that it needed to be said, because a lot of people, especially in society these days, it's they see the representation of a superhero on TV or a character or a tarot card, and they're like, I have to look like that. And it's like, no, you really don't. Like it looks however it's meant to look in your body at that point in your life, anything like that. So just rock it and own it how you're going to rock it and own it. Don't. And if someone's like, well, you can't be the empress because you don't have like birthing hips, say a few 4-letter words to them and walk away. Like they ain't shit. Like they're so yeah, that's just my personal.
Totally. And that's kind of what, there is a safety about the abstract layer of tarot, because it is so much more universal and it's not particular. So like if I think of the empress and I don't think of like that specific body type, but I just think of like the Hebrew letter Dalet or the symbol of Venus or like something or feeling, that's another thing. And then you can use that feeling and channel that and let that emanate into your embodiment. I think that's really fun exercise too.
Yes.
Totally.
And I think that's you bring, see, you're so smart. You keep bringing up good points.
You keep me going. I'm like, oh yeah.
That it's you're so inspirational. That it's this so like you said, the Chariot is for Cancer, and like there are planets that go with cards, there are astrological symbols that go with cards, and then that's, so it's not just the card, there are so many facets that you can go with and elements that go with the cards. And so it's like a card can look like something, but it's like you said, a Hebrew letter that also corresponds, and then what does that mean to you, and then what does the element mean to you and stuff. So it can be like we were talking about at the beginning, it can be micro or macro. You can look at it just as the card, or you can look at all these different aspects of it and work with that. Like for me with tarot, I work a lot with the elements of it. And then Joe has mentioned like the Hebrew letters and stuff, which I would not work with because do not rock that intelligence at all. I'm all about like, oh, look, it's sunny.
It's not super complicated. You would actually, with your mind and your awareness and all the different things that you do on top of tarot, you'd probably just be like, oh yeah, I've done this all before. You'd be like, oh yeah, I did this in the last life. Okay, cool. But yeah, it's like I love emanation theory, like Neoplatonism, and the idea that things emanate from perfection into actuality. And like it's kind of meta, because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about our physical embodiments.
Yes.
Of the illustrative embodiments on the card,
Mhm.
which are like abstract archetypal embodiments, which come from, who knows, Mesopotamia, aliens, Egypt, whatever,
Yes.
the Big Bang. And that, I think that's really what it's so fun,
Mhm.
fun to play with. But yeah.
Yeah, I
Oh,
think that, yes.
I was just gonna say, can I have a non PG-13 embodiment
Yes.
for the end of the video?
Yes. Thank you for the warning. Yes.
So I just think the sword suit, especially the Eight of Swords and the Hanged Man, kink culture.
Oh my God, I never saw that. I'm seeing it now though. I'm seeing it. And it's I think that's a really good symbolism of like inclusivity, but then also like the way you can look at things and the different facets of things to get a deeper awareness of them for certain people. Because if clients come to you with that kind of lifestyle, it's like reading the cards for them. But that's, you read the cards as a professional, but you're reading them for your client. And the one that I always bring up as the example is sexuality. And so if I'm reading the cards for a lesbian and I'm like, well, you're going to meet the man of your dreams, bitch gonna be pissed. Like, they're not going to be happy with that reading. They're gonna be like, no, that just because it's a king don't mean anything type thing. And so it's like you read for your client and the lifestyle they have, whether it's queer or trans or kink or anything. Like, be aware of that to read for them. You're reading for them and their life, not what you think their life is going to be or should be, or what limitations you have on your mind. Remember to expand, absolutely expand with it. Just like Joe does. Look at him, just expanding all over the place.
And I think also, like with readers, if you don't know, just ask. And you will get different depending on where you are. Like if I'm reading in New York City or if I'm reading in Brooklyn, is very different than other places in the country. And it's like, so, I'll ask like, okay, guys or girls? And some people will, without a blinking, they'll just tell me. And other people are like, what do you mean? And it's so interesting. And then even that question, you get an awareness of where they are in their life, what they've been exposed to, which is not a judgment of them, but just an awareness of like, okay, like what's their reality? And like, it's very interesting. But yeah, staying open, always asking the client. I think that's really good because there's just, I have so many embodiments.
Yes. And like reading for different people, I read in Minnesota in the Twin Cities, and then I travel to Michigan like 5 times a year and do conventions in Michigan. And the person who heads the conventions, when I went, gave me a little message, and it was, okay, you are wonderful. Well, thank you. You're Minnesotan, you're going to Michigan. Michigan is a little bit more PG than your Twin Cities. And I actually went out there and I said, fuck, while I was out there. And it was a big deal for this convention that I said it during like a public introduction or whatever. And it was then that I was like, oh yeah, so where you read matters, like, and read to the people you're with, because as much as I am my authentic self, I also don't want to make my clients uncomfortable with what I say and how I behave. So if your client isn't comfortable with swearing, try to tone it down. I'm not saying don't swear, just like maybe leave the C and the F word at home.
Yeah, that's interesting. And that's its own embodiment in professional practice. And that's like building rapport with someone. That's like a whole skill set. And it's wild. I mean, there's so many realities out there, especially now with like paradigms of reality changing among our very eyes. It's like, but luckily we all have the full, we can be all of it and include all of it.
Yes, we are all encompassing. Like, so Joe, I have loved talking to you about this, and we can go on for hours and hours, but we will have to be cutting it short pretty soon. But so I have a question for all of you watching, and you can bop it in the comments. Make sure to like and share this. You can share it on Facebook and other social media platforms. We're all about it. If you have questions, comment. We're all fairly friendly, and we all like know our shit. We're all here doing this because we love tarot. So if you have a question about tarot, of course, ask it. So my question for you guys is, and I'd love to hear your comments, what aspects of your life are you the physical embodiment of the tarot? Like, we just said our examples. What are yours? Like, let's get the vastness of the universe into this, you know, let's do this type thing. So thank you so much, Joe. And
Thank you, Lily. This was so much fun. I always enjoy chatting with you, going down the wormhole with you. It's always so inspiring. It's filled with fun. I look forward to doing it again.
Yes, this was wonderful. Thank you everyone for tuning in. And again, like, share, comment, do all that wonderful stuff. We are with Tarot Off the Cuff. My name is Lily McNamara. This is Joe Monteleone, and we wish you a wonderful, blessed day, and go forth and be awesome.
Hi, thanks for watching. This is Kevin Quigley with Tarot Off the Cuff. If you can take a second, click the subscribe button down below. That'll let you know when a new video is posted and you might want to jump over and watch it. If you hit the thumbs up for the videos that you really like, that will help spread the word so new people will find Tarot Off the Cuff in their feed, and that helps the channel grow. That would be great. And if you got a question or a comment, positive or negative, whether you agree or disagree, or if you want to add information or your own take on a particular card or a particular topic, put a comment down below. We would love to hear from you. Thanks so much.